All right, good morning, or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. My name is Shantae Williams. I'm a biology teacher at the high school level. Um, I teach a co-taught class of biology students, and today we are doing a reflection on Activity 1 from Module 5, Week 3, which is administering differentiated assessments. And we had to pick a reading passage and differentiate it based off of students with disabilities. Like I said, I teach a co-taught class, and the individuals in my class have mild intellectual disabilities, and some do have reading levels that are below proficient. So I would chose three of those students that come to my tutoring every afternoon, and we use them to develop this test and do this practice. And what we did was I had the students sit separately. Me and my co-teacher actually helped me with this so that I could help provide the accommodations that they needed. And I got the reading passage. I gave them the original reading passage um, at first, and then I realized I was like, okay, wait, I probably should differentiate this a little differently because the original reading passage is at a sixth grade reading level, and so I went back and I looked at the Lexile levels, and I have two of the individuals that read on the second grade reading level and one that read on the fourth grade reading level. So we have this software called Magic School, and I put the reading passage inside of that software and told it the Lexile levels for my individuals, and it changed the passage rigor down to their reading level. And I set the score with a differentiation to a semester higher. So one of my individuals is second grade first semester. I moved it to second grade second semester based off of their reading ability, just to give them a slight bit more rigor to help them with the process. And after giving them the second reading passage and the assessment questions, we noticed that there was a jump in their reflection scores. So I just wanted to do because I went to school for biology originally, so I'm a scientist first, and I was like, okay, I have to have a control. So let's see what happens if I give them the assessment with the original reading, and they did it well. Um, and they only got two of my questions right with the original reading. I gave them the modified reading, and then they performed a little bit better. They performed at I think I had about an average of a 62, I want to say around there, for the second assessment. Now, on the third attempt, what we did was I read the passage aloud to all the individuals, and it was the original passage. And as I read the passage, I stopped and I pointed out key terms. And we had visual representations of those key terms, and we talked about those key terms, and I brought it down to their level. Then I continued to read, and same thing. Every time we got to a key term or concept, we broke it down. We had visual representations. We moved it around for them to see. And once I did that, we had an improvement all the way up. One of them actually made 100 on the questions. Now, with the questions, they were the same set of questions, so there may have been some type of skew. Maybe they remembered the answers that they put. Not pretty sure about that, but I do feel like the conceptual based answers where they had to draw connections and things of that nature, they did improve on. Um, per the methods portions, I just want to add that to the end of this video so that it's all in one place. Um, what I want to address is what was asked was in your reflection on this activity, describe how you would implement this assessment, collect and organize data, and use the data to inform instruction, include lesson planning, differentiating strategies, grouping strategies, and instructional strategies. All right, so I did show you a little bit of the differentiations that I did with this project. I started with the original text, and I wanted to see how well they could do it on their own. And then we went on and allowed them to read a text at their grade level, just a little bit more rigor, but pretty much their regular grade level, to see how they did. And then I went on and gave them their full accommodations, because all of those students do get a read aloud accommodations, and I read it aloud and I wrote down the concepts. What I did notice is an improvement when I had those visual aids. So I think this did really help me a lot, because I teach a co-talk class and I didn't have this implemented before. But what I would do to help differentiate when we do small group and pull them out, I probably would allow or generate a simple visual representation of these things. And I used like emphasis in the word. So, for an example, when we were talking about cell transport, when we use hypotonic, I made the O, because hypertonic means that the concentration outside of the cell is greater than inside the cell. So I made the O really big and hypotonic, and I put arrows of water moving into the cell, so they knew that, okay, my cell is swelling, it's getting bigger, and that helped them visualize it and see it more. So that's how I differentiate it. For the data purposes of it, for this assessment, I would use it just more on a reading comprehension base, since literacy is a big push in my district. So I would see how well my students comprehend at the grade level that they're supposed to be at, because the reading passages are written on a 10th grade reading level originally. That's the original passage that I used, is a 10th grade reading level. And I would see how they would perform reading at that normal level. If they perform poorly at that reading level, okay, let me adjust it and see if I adjust the reading level, with that help. Also, I like to add in time into those assessments to see, okay, how much time am I spending on reading these questions? Because on the Georgia Milestones, they have very little time. They only have 1 minute and 28 seconds to read, comprehend, and apply that information to a question. So how much time are we spending trying to read and comprehend these passages at this reading level? So I'm using that and collecting data, and I'm trying to figure out ways to speed up our reading ability, interpreting those passages, getting through them quicker so that we can reach that time. I'm still struggling with it. I haven't really fully developed a plan yet, but I'm trying. Now, when it comes down to lesson planning for this, generally my lesson plans are built around a pretest that we do. I don't generally use a reading passage to assess my students' understanding of the information. So, if I were to use this in a lesson plan setting, I would probably go back and look and see what questions that the students struggle with. Like, what were they talking about? Was it a concept based question, or was it a reading comprehension question? And if it's a concept, okay, now I need to go back and reteach this concept because you don't understand this concept at all. If it's a concept, if it's a comprehension problem, okay, let's break down what we're not comprehending. What are we missing? What do you think the question is asking? What do you think the passage is telling you, so that we can build that from there?